Jaren sat alone at the edge of the small outpost bar, far from Earth, far from everything. The room was dim, filled with quiet music and the low hum of energy walls holding the station together. He stared at a half-empty glass, not for the drink but for the memories. That dress dot, it was red, simple, sleeveless. It had a floral design etched into its lower side, barely noticeable unless you got close. Mia had worn it the night she said goodbye before boarding a mission that never came back. That was 2 years ago. He had buried the memory dot until today dot because she walked in. Not Mia, not a human. But the exact dress flowed over her like it belonged to her. Jaren's breath caught in his chest. The figure in the doorway had soft brown skin, long dark hair, and eyes just slightly too large, too luminous. Her posture was strange to balanced, to calm, and her movements held a fluid grace that no untrained human could match. But what shook him wasn't the beauty, it was the familiarity. That was Mia's dress, the one she had left folded neatly on his bed. He had kept it hidden in a sealed box dot, and now, here it was, on someone who wasn't Mia. The woman, nor whatever she was, moved through the room like she didn't notice the eyes on her. She walked directly toward Jaren. His hand tensed over the table. Part of him wanted to stand. Another part screamed to run. She stopped in front of him. Jaren Cole, she said softly, her voice carrying a strange echo, like two tones at once. His stomach dropped. Yes, he replied slowly, eyes locked on hers. That's me. She tilted her head slightly. You are Mia's bond. That word bond sent ice through his veins. I was her partner, he said carefully. Who are you? Where did you get that dress? She blinked, her pupils narrowing like a cat's. For a moment, then returning to round. She gave it to me. Jaren stood. That's impossible. Mia died 2 years ago on the Argos 7 mission. Her ship was destroyed. There were no survivors. She raised a hand, palm up. Not destroyed. Taken. She lived. For some time. She called me sister. Jaren stared at her in silence. His heart pounded. Show me proof. She nodded. From her wrist, a small device glowed to life. A hologram flickered in the air between them, blurry at first, then stabilizing. Mia's face appeared, tired, eyes swollen, but smiling. Jaren, if she found you, it means I didn't make it. But I tried. I really did. She's not like us, but she helped me survive for longer than anyone could. Please, listen to her. Her name is Lyra. Mia hesitated. More than I ever understood. The message ended. Silence fell around them. Lyra, if that was her name, watched him without blinking. Jaren sat down slowly. His mind was spinning. He couldn't tell if he was grieving or breathing again. Finally, he whispered, "Why did you come here wearing that?" Lyra looked down at the dress, running her fingers along its edge like she could feel its meaning. She told me it meant something to you. Something comforting. I hoped it would help you believe. Jaren looked into her alien eyes. Somewhere in them, he saw a reflection of the woman he had lost. But Lyra was not Mia. And yet, she carried a piece of her dot. Something had begun. And deep down, Jaren knew this was only the start. Jaren sat in silence across from Lyra. Her voice was soft, careful. She spoke like Mia did, gentle but sure. But something felt strange underneath. Not wrong. Just not human. I tried to learn, she said. How to sound like her. How to speak like you. Mia taught me before she became too weak. Jaren swallowed hard. Too weak? What happened to her? Lyra didn't blink. The gravity on the world was heavier than your body could take. She lasted longer than the others. Long enough to tell me about Earth. About you. Jaren gripped the edge of the table. He could hear the pain rising in her voice. But it was like hearing pain described in perfect grammar correct, but not lived. You're not like us, he said slowly. No, Lyra replied. I was made. My species built mines for survival. I am one of them, but different. I stayed with her when others would have left. And you look like her, Jaren said bitterly. Why? She tilted her head. I don't, but your eyes do not see what I am. This form was shaped using me as memories. I chose the dress from her mind. So you're wearing her face? He asked, almost in a whisper. No, Lyra said. Just the shape of comfort. Those words sank into him like a stone in water. He looked at her closely now. Her skin was smooth, but not perfect, like it had been molded by someone who had seen a human, but never been one. Her hands were too still, her breathing too even, and her eyes wide, full of stars were watching him not with emotion, but with study. She was learning him, bit by bit. Still, something in her presence felt safe, familiar, like a story half forgotten, now riddled by someone who didn't understand every word. You said Mia gave you a message, Jaren asked. Why me? Why? Now, she believed you would listen, that your love could cross death. Jaren looked down. His hands trembled. I don't know if I can, he admitted. You look like a memory that hurts. I understand pain, Lyra said softly, but not in your way. Mine is logic. Yours is fire. He looked up. Mia gave me her voice. Lyra continued. Her stories. Her memories. She said, you would help me become more. Jaren leaned back in his seat. Become what? Lyra touched her own chest, just above the heart. Alive. That word made Jaren freeze. Not because it was dramatic, but because she said it like she wasn't sure what it meant. I don't know how to help someone like you, he admitted. You're not her. You're not even one of us. I don't want to replace her, Lyra said gently. I want to understand what she gave up. And maybe feel it too. A silence stretched between them. The lights of the bar flickered slightly. Distant music still played, but Jaren didn't hear it anymore. He remembered nights on Earth laughter, running in the rain, her arms wrapped around him. Mia had been more than just his partner. She had been his anchor. Now, Lyra sat here with her memories like a living echo. I can't promise anything, Jaren said. I don't even know what you are yet. Lyra nodded. Then let's start with truth. She stood slowly, extending her hand. I will show you the ship, she said. Where she lived. Where she left me. Jaren hesitated, then placed his hand in hers. It was warm, not metal, not cold, but not quite human either. Still, it didn't matter. This journey had started the moment she walked in. Now he needed to follow. Asterisk, the walk to the ship was quiet. Jaren followed Lyra through the docking bay, past crates and cargo ships that hummed in sleep. The space station always felt strange at night, cold, silent, like it waited for something to go wrong. Lyra moved without sound, her feet never rushing, her posture calm. She didn't turn back to check if Jaren was still behind her. She simply knew. Her ship was docked at the far edge of the station, away from the others. It looked unlike anything Jaren had ever seen. Smooth, like black glass shaped into a long oval. No engines were visible. No lights blinked. It didn't look like a warship or a cargo hauler. It looked like it wasn't made to be seen at all. What kind of ship is this? Jaren asked, stopping at the ramp. Lyra turned toward him. It is grown, not built. Made from memory and purpose. He narrowed his eyes. You mean it's alive? In a way, she said. It remembers. Jaren stepped inside carefully. The air was warm, not stale like most vessels. The walls were smooth and slightly glowing, pulsing softly with blue light. They seemed to shift when he looked too long, like they were watching him back. Lyra led him through a long hallway that curved slightly. No sharp corners, no control panels, just curves, light, and silence. Then they entered a chamber. At its center floated a clear sphere. held up by three organic-looking arms growing from the floor. Inside the sphere were dozens of floating memory crystals, small, glowing, and spinning slowly like stars. Lyra walked up to it and touched one. A warm image bloomed into the Ermia's face again. She was laughing. Her voice filled the room. "You're doing it wrong," she giggled. "That's not how humans dance." Then a shadow moved across the memory, and Lyra's voice could be heard off-screen. "Then show me again." The image faded. Jaren's throat tightened. "She taught me these things," Lyra said, her voice softer now. "How to feel music. How to cry when it hurts. How to sit in silence and not be afraid." Jaren walked around the sphere slowly. He watched other fragments, Mia teaching her how to hold a cup, how to cook something from a metal box, how to sing a simple earth tune. In one, she was showing Lyra a picture of him. "That's him. That's Jaren." Mia whispered, "If you ever find him, tell him I'm sorry. I couldn't come back." Jaren felt his knees weaken. He sat down on the floor. "She really didn't make it," he whispered. "No," Lyra replied, kneeling beside him. "She gave everything she had, even her memories, to me, and you carry them all." He asked. "I carry what she gave me," Lyra said, "but I don't understand all of it. I remember her sadness when she looked at your photo. I remember the way she smiled after saying your name, but I don't know why it made her cry." Jaren turned his head toward her. Her face was calm, unreadable. "Love," he said, "it's when someone means more than yourself. When losing them hurts more than anything." She was quiet. "Then, is that what I feel when I see you?" Not her memories, but mine? Jaren's breath caught. "You feel something?" Lyra placed her hand over her chest again. "When I saw you in the bar, my heart, this artificial one, sped up. I felt warm. I didn't know why. Maybe I was scared you'd send me away." Jaren didn't answer at first. He looked up at the crystals again. "Mia's gone," he said. "But maybe a part of her found her way home." Lyra nodded. "I want to learn," she whispered. "Not to replace her, but to feel something real. To know why she gave her final days to help me become more." Jaren reached out and touched her hand. It was soft, not metal, not fake. "Then we start here, and in that strange living ship, surrounded by fragments of a love once lost. Something new began to grow. Jaren stayed inside the ship longer than he planned. There was no ticking clock here, no windows, no sense of time. Just soft lights, quiet air, and memories hanging like stars. Lyra showed him more fragments, laughs, words, songs. Mia teaching her how to whistle, how to tease someone without meaning harm, how to sleep even when there's pain. But then something strange happened. One of the memory crystals floated closer to Jaren on its own. Lyra hadn't touched it. The image that bloomed wasn't Mia's voice. It was Lyra's. And it was him she spoke of. "I saw him again today," the memory Lyra whispered. "He sat alone, the same spot as yesterday. Same drink, same silence." Jaren's eyes widened. "I think I waited too long," she continued. "The memory dress might upset him, but it was the only way. I knew how to say, 'I remember you.'" He looked over at Lyra. "You recorded your own thoughts?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I was afraid to forget how I felt." "You were?" "The first thing that made me feel something that wasn't Mia's memory." Jaren didn't speak. The next part of the memory played. He looked at me like I was a ghost, like I broke something inside him. I never wanted that. I only wanted him to see me, not her dress. The image dimmed. Jaren's chest felt tight. "Why show me this now?" "Because it's not Mia's memory," Lyra said. "It's mine, and I want to be honest." He looked away, unsure what to say. For a long time, he had only wanted to remember Mia, to hold onto her. But now, something else stirred in him. Confusion. Yes, but also recognition. Lyra was more than a carrier of memories now. She felt. She regretted. She watched. And she recorded it all because she didn't trust her own feelings yet. "You're scared?" he said. She nodded. "Because I don't know what these emotions mean. And because I want you to see me, not just as her shadow." Jaren stood up and walked toward the crystal still floating nearby. He tapped it gently, watching it spin. "You recorded this after you saw me in the bar." "Yes. So you already knew you'd hurt me." "I didn't understand how." "Deep," she whispered. "But when I saw your eyes, I knew I had misjudged the pain." He sighed. "You're learning fast." She stepped closer. "Only because I have a teacher now." Jaren smiled faintly. It wasn't a wide smile, just enough to show something inside him had shifted. He looked around the chamber again. "How many of these memories are yours?" "A few," she said. "Most are still Mia's. But mine are growing, and some of them have you in them now." That made him pause. It would be so easy to walk away. To say this was too strange, too soon, too painful. But something about Lyra's honesty kept him still. She wasn't trying to become Mia. She was trying to understand herself. And in a strange way, Jaren was starting to see her not as a replacement. Not as a project, but as someone who wanted to be more than what she was made to be. "All right," he said softly. "Then let's make a deal." Lyra tilted her head. "No more dress." He said with a half smile. "If you want me to see you, then wear something that's yours, not hers." Lyra's lips curved slightly. "Understood. And next time," Jaren added, "don't record memories about me without telling me first." She looked a bit guilty. "Noted." He reached out and tapped another crystal floating nearby. It shimmered, ready to play, but he let it fade. "Tomorrow," he said. "One memory at a time." Lyra nodded. And for the first time, the room felt less like a tomb and more like a beginning. The next morning, Jaren returned to the ship. He wasn't sure what he expected. Maybe the same halls, the same lights, the same strange floating crystals. But something was different. Lyra stood near the entrance, waiting for him. And she had changed. No red dress. No shadow of Mia's memory. Instead, she wore a simple white outfit, clean lines, no patterns. Soft fabric that moved gently as she breathed. It didn't try to copy a human style. It looked like her. She watched his face carefully. "Is this better?" Jaren nodded slowly. "It's you." They walked side by side into the main room again. The floating crystals still hovered gently in the center, but neither of them touched them this time. "I wanted to show you I listened," Lyra said. "That I respect your pain." "You did," Jaren replied. "Thank you." There was silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Jaren sat down on a soft bench-like seat that grew out from the wall. Lyra sat beside him, leaving space between them. Her movements were still perfect, smooth, measured, but now Jaren noticed something else. She was trying not to be perfect. She hesitated sometimes. She blinked a little longer. It was as if she was trying to become flawed. More human. "I've been thinking," Jaren said. "Mia gave you her memories, her time, but she never gave you a future." Lyra turned to him. "What is a future?" He smiled faintly. "Something that's yours, not something borrowed from someone else." Her eyes flickered. Then she looked down. "Then I want one." They spent the next few hours exploring the ship, not through memories, but through real conversation. Jaren asked about Lyra's world. She told him her species had no names like humans did. No families either. They were grown to serve knowledge and survive extreme worlds. They were minds built in shells, sent out to gather information, never to return. But I stayed, Lyra said quietly. When Mia's team crashed, I was supposed to report and leave. But she was hurt and curious. She asked questions no one ever asked me before. Like what? Lyra looked up, her voice soft. She asked what I was afraid of. I didn't know, she said. Then maybe you're not alive yet. Jaren leaned back. That sounds like her. Then she asked what I wanted. And what did you say? Lyra looked at him. I said I didn't know. But now, I think I do. She stood and walked to the center of the chamber. The lights shifted around her, glowing softly. I want to stay, she said. I want to learn everything. Not from her memories. From you, from this galaxy, from life. Jaren watched her carefully. There was no pretending in her voice. No copied tone. Just truth. Then she turned to face him again. Would you help me build a life? That is mine? He felt the weight of that question. Not because it was romantic, but because it was real. She wasn't asking for love. She was asking for a chance. Jaren stood slowly. I don't have answers for you. I don't even know what this is between us. But I do know. I don't want to run anymore. Lyra blinked. Then we walked together. He nodded. Yeah. One step at a time. She smiled. It was small. A little uneven. But it was the first time it didn't feel like Mia's smile. It was hers. And in that moment, Jaren no longer saw the ship as a grave. He saw it as a bridge between grief and healing. Between the past and the future. Between two souls, one born of humanity. One made from stars who were slowly learning what it meant to be alive. Together. The peace didn't last. 3 days had passed since Jaren and Lyra began talking openly, walking through the station, watching starfields from the upper deck, and sharing quiet thoughts. Each hour, Lyra seemed more human, not in body, but in feeling. Her questions became deeper, her silences more thoughtful. Jaren had started smiling again, genuine, real. But peace always breaks when the past comes calling. It happened during a quiet walk outside the ship. They were near the maintenance corridor when a sharp voice echoed behind them. Step away from her. Now. Jaren turned sharply. A tall man in dark gray armor stood at the end of the corridor, weapon aimed straight at Lyra. His eyes were hard, his voice colder than the metal in his hands. I said move, civilian. That thing is not what you think. Jaren stepped in front of Lyra. She's not a thing. Who are you? The man didn't lower his weapon. Special Officer Grant, Galactic Watch. Code Black Protocol rogue construct spotted using stolen human identity and emotional mimicry. Classified threat level, Omega. Lyra remained still. She didn't speak, but Jaren saw her eyes narrow slightly. She's not a threat, Jaren said firmly. She's peaceful. She helped one of ours. She saved a human. Emotion manipulation. Standard pattern. The officer snapped. You think it's a woman trying to understand love. But these constructs have been used before. Psychological infiltration. One got close to a command team, cost us 2 colonies. Jaren clenched. His fists. You're wrong. She's different. Grant's weapon charged. Back away. Or I disable you too. Don't, came Lyra's voice. Soft but firm. She stepped forward, placing a hand gently on Jaren's shoulder to move him aside. I will speak. Jaren turned to her. You don't have to do this. Yes, she whispered. I do. She stepped toward the officer, hands open. I am Lyra, she said. I carry memories given to me, not stolen. I have not harmed a single soul, and I do not wish to. You were grown by the Hive Collective. Grant snapped. You're a living weapon disguised to get close. We've seen your kind before. Lyra shook her head. I was made, yes, but I chose my own path. Mia gave me that chance. Don't say her name, Grant growled. Lyra paused. You knew her? She was my cousin. The silence was heavy. Jaren stared, stunned. Then you should know, Lyra said gently. She died with hope, not hate. She believed I could be more than a tool. Grant's gun didn't lower. You're lying. Lyra slowly raised her wrist. The same device lit up. Mia's final message played again, her voice weak, but filled with peace. Asterisk asterisk. If she finds you, that means I didn't survive. But please, don't judge her for what she is. Judge her for what she chooses. The message faded. Grant's arm shook slightly. You altered that. Has to be fake. I don't know how. To fake feelings, Lyra said. But I know what regret feels like now. And I would feel it if I never tried to prove myself. Grant looked between them, breathing hard. His weapon still glowed, but now it dipped slightly. You should be. Shut down. Turned over to command. Lyra stepped closer. Then do it. What? She extended her arms, wrists facing forward. If you truly believe I'm only a threat, then end me. I won't stop you. Jaren's voice cracked. Lyra. No, but she didn't look away from Grant. I carry Mia's final hopes, she said. If you destroy me, make sure it's not just for fear but for truth. Grant stared for a long moment. Then he lowered his weapon. You're not like the others, he muttered. But I'm watching you. With that, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the station. Lyra turned to Jaren. He rushed forward and held her by the arms. You could have died, he said, voice shaking. But I didn't, she whispered, because truth reached him. Jaren looked into her eyes. Something had changed, not just around them, but between them. Asterisk days passed. The station returned to normal. Patrols continued. Ships came and went. People moved through the metal halls without noticing the quiet storm. That had come and passed. But something had changed inside Jaren and inside Lyra. They didn't speak much of the moment with the officer. They didn't need to. That night had carved something permanent between them. It was no longer about memories or the past. It was about choice. Jaren watched Lyra move through the station now more freely, more relaxed. She no longer wore the red dress. She no longer walked like a shadow of someone else. She walked like someone becoming. Every now and then, people stared. A few whispered. Some avoided her. But Jaren stayed close. He didn't care what others thought anymore. One evening, they sat on the viewing deck watching a blue planet spin slowly in the distance. Lyra sat beside him, her hands folded in her lap. I don't think I was made for love, she said softly. Jaren looked over at her. Why do you say that? Because I wasn't made to feel. I was built to think, to analyze. Even when I began to mimic emotion, I didn't understand what it meant. Until I met Mia. Until I met you. Jaren smiled gently. Love isn't about being made for it. It's about choosing it. She looked into his eyes. Then I choose it. Every time. His chest tightened, but not with pain this time. It was something else. Warmth. Belonging. He reached out and took her hand. Then you're more human than most people. I know. They sat in silence for a while. Lyra turned to him. What happens now? That depends, Jaren replied. What do you want? She thought for a moment. I want a name. You already have one, Lyra. She shook her head slightly. That name came from her. It's a gift. But now, I want something that is only mine. Jaren looked out at the stars, then back at her. I think you've already made your name, he said. You just haven't spoken it yet. Lyra smiled. Then when I find it, I will say it to you first. He nodded. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm not her, she whispered. I know, he said. And you don't need me to be. He turned slightly and kissed the top of her head. No, I just need you. She closed her eyes. In that moment, the stars didn't seem so cold. The station didn't feel so far from home. And the ship that once held the weight of loss now held something new. Hope. Lyra would never be human. She would never feel things exactly the way Jaren did. She didn't cry the same way. She didn't understand all the small moments, the quiet, meanings in every breath. But she tried, and sometimes trying was more powerful than perfection. Jaren had loved and lost. He had buried memories and built walls. But this strange being wearing borrowed memories and building her own path, she made him feel alive again. Not because she reminded him of Mia, but because she reminded him that the heart, even when broken, could beat again. Asterisk as the stars drifted by. Lyra whispered, "I've made a new memory." Jaren smiled. "Yeah. What is it?" "This moment," she said softly, "where I was finally seen not as someone else, but as me." And in that quiet, held between silence and starlight, Jaren whispered back, "I see you."